Thunder roared as the lightning sword slammed headlong into the projected club, the collision shaking heaven and earth. Shockwaves rippled outward like raging tides. Within that chaos, phantasmal forms surged forth in succession, a golden dragon, a mighty Kunpeng, each crashing into the club projection and tearing it apart layer by layer. Before the remnants could recover, a colossal ape projection descended from above, fists smashing down upon Shi-Chan with earth-shattering force. The club projection shattered first. With its obstruction gone, the immense lightning sword fell unimpeded from the sky. Impossible, Shi-Chan cried out. A crack split her club, and in the next instant, a searing slash carved from her shoulder down across her chest. Her body was hurled backward through the air, blood spraying as arcs of golden lightning clung stubbornly to the wound. Rather than dispersing, the lightning burrowed inward, assaulting her internal organs. Her flesh was extraordinarily tough, even by early great encompassment standards, yet her internal organs were far more fragile. If the golden lightning was allowed to ravage her freely, even her cultivation foundation could be ruined. Making a swift decision, Shi-Chan plunged straight down into the swamp below, clearly choosing flight over battle. Seeing this, Jinliu also fled without hesitation. But before he could escape, he was intercepted by Worm 3 and Fox 3. Han Li did not pursue Jin Liu. Remaining aloft in his three-headed devilish deity form, he swept his gaze across the land, searching intently for Shi-Chan. At that very moment, a miserable howl echoed from below. A figure wreathed in silver flames burst into the air. Clothes torn to shreds, hair disheveled, body riddled with wounds, it was Shi-Chan. Close behind her, the Essence Fire Raven gave chase, and Han Li immediately lunged forward, slashing once more. Another colossal golden lightning sword descended from the heavens. Unease flickered across the faces of the Lan siblings. Their bond with Shi-Chan ran deep. If her life were truly at stake, they would have no choice but to intervene. Before they could act, Shi-Chan let out a roar filled with hatred. "You'll pay for this." A gash split open on her glabella, and from within flew a white bead the size of a longan. It rose straight toward the descending lightning sword. "Careful, she's going to detonate her beast core," Lei Yusei shouted, reflexively moving in front of Su Angqian. "No, that's her Toad Moon Jewel," Lan Yuanzi exclaimed. Worm Three's expression shifted upon hearing this. Among certain rare toad demon beasts, there existed a Toad Moon Jewel in addition to the demon core. This jewel absorbed moonlight, greatly accelerating cultivation. Its importance was second only to the nascent soul and demon core. For a great encompassment cultivator like Shi-Chan, the jewel had accumulated power for countless years. Its detonation would be nothing short of catastrophic. Everyone immediately fled in all directions. Xiangshan, knowing himself to be the weakest, had already retreated far away. A sense of grave danger welled up in Han Li's heart, but it was too late to withdraw his strike. The Toad Moon Jewel trembled violently, then exploded in a burst of blinding radiance. The light vanished abruptly, and the sky darkened as though day had turned to night. A single beam of icy moonlight descended, bathing the land in silver. Space itself seemed to freeze under that cold glow. Then, like a shattered mirror, everything fractured. Countless dark spatial rifts tore open in the air, within which violent turbulence raged, releasing terrifying spatial fluctuations that sent everyone fleeing for their lives. Yet the rifts were too numerous to avoid completely. In a moment of distraction, a rift opened behind Su Anqian, nearly swallowing her whole. Once again, Lei Yusei swooped in and saved her. Having been rescued twice, Su Anqian's icy gaze softened when she looked at him, a faint warmth finally emerging. Jin Liu was not so fortunate. Having been surrounded earlier, he was the last to retreat. After fleeing only a few thousand feet, he slammed straight into a massive spatial rift. He twisted desperately, trying to slide past it, but the rift's suction was overwhelming. Inch by inch, he was dragged inside, his body and nascent soul alike erased without a trace. Near the epicenter of the explosion, spatial rifts were densest. Shi-Chan herself had vanished without a trace. Only Han Li remained, hovering amid the chaos. Behind him, the mantra-treasured axis radiated golden light, slowing the rift's expansion. In his hand was a green gourd, its mouth pointed forward. A swirling green vortex gathered translucent silver particles from the surroundings, condensing them together to reform the Toad Moon Jewel. Having absorbed moonlight for endless years, The jewel instinctively felt invaluable to Han Li, and he chose to recover it. Afterward, he recalled the Essence Fire Raven and carefully threaded his way through the rifts, descending back to the ground. An unspoken understanding settled over the group. No one mentioned the battle. Pills were taken, and everyone sat down to meditate and recover. After resting briefly, Han Li stood and cupped his fist in gratitude. Thank you, fellow Taoists. Though their decision not to aid Xichan had largely been driven by self-interest, it had undeniably worked in Han Li's favor. There's no need for thanks, fellow Taoist Han. You defeated her with your own strength, Lei Yus replied. My eyes have truly been opened. Brother Han murmured, emotions churning. Time is pressing. Let us continue, Han Li said. The others nodded, and one by one, they stepped through the spatial door. Han Li's vision blurred, and he found himself within a vast gray cave. The tunnel stretched into deep shadows, its end impossible to discern. Yin winds gusted from ahead, and the chill in the air was evident from the black frost coating the stone walls. Lei Yus and the others appeared nearby and began surveying their surroundings. Han Li frowned slightly as he noticed Kulin was nowhere to be seen, despite having entered first. The others also noticed his absence, their expressions darkening, but Han Li chose not to dwell on it. Let's move. Stay alert, he said. After his recent display of power, no one objected to him taking the lead. Spiritual sense was even more suppressed on the 7th level, so the group advanced on foot. Even so, their progress was swift. The cave, however, was far longer than expected. After more than 10 minutes, there was still no end in sight, and the yin winds only grew fiercer. Suddenly, Han Li halted. Be careful. 7 or 8 monstrous beings appeared ahead, human faces atop wolf bodies, each dozens of feet long. Reddish-brown fur, like bamboo fiber, cloaks covered them, and they lunged forward with terrifying speed. Black winds burst from their claws, gouging the ground and walls, the edges charred as if corroded. Though startled, Lei Yusei and the others responded calmly, launching fierce counterattacks. Realizing they were outmatched, the wolf-like creatures spewed a sea of reddish-black flames in an attempt to block the assault. It was futile. The attacks tore through the flames and obliterated the creatures. Their bodies dissolved into black smoke, each leaving behind a fist-sized reddish-black bead. What are these? Wen Zhong asked curiously, raising a hand and releasing a strand of golden light toward the beads. Don't touch them, Han Li shouted urgently, but it was already too late. The moment the golden light made contact, the beads exploded into radiant reddish-black light, surging outward in all directions. A thunderous detonation shook the depths as a tide of reddish-black radiance swept through the cavern, crushing stone and earth alike. The cave collapsed in an instant, burying Han Li and the others beneath an ocean of rubble. Fortunately, all present were adept in earth movement arts, and they dove underground at the critical moment, narrowly avoiding being entombed alive. Yet no sooner had they entered the soil than shrill, sinister laughter echoed from below. From the depths surged a colossal black claw, as large as a house, grasping toward them with terrifying speed. It belonged to a bloated, lizard-shaped monstrosity lurking beneath the earth. Its aura blended perfectly with the surrounding terrain, rendering it undetectable until the ambush struck. By the time the group sensed danger, evasion was already impossible. At the brink of disaster, Han Li flicked his sleeve. A thread of radiant golden lightning shot forth, striking the oncoming claw with a deafening thud. Though minuscule compared to the claw, the lightning tore through it effortlessly and pierced straight into the beast's chest, blasting open a cavernous wound. The creature shrieked in agony and tried to flee deeper underground, but Lei Yusei and the others reacted at once, unleashing a storm of attacks. In an instant, the monster was ripped apart. Like the wolf beasts encountered earlier, its shattered body dissolved into billowing black smoke. Even underground, the smoke spread swiftly, staining soil and stone with inky darkness. Alarmed, everyone hastily raised layers of protective spiritual light. At the rear, Xiangshan did the same, golden radiance shielding his body. Yet at that very moment, a nearly imperceptible wisp of black light darted from the smoke, piercing his barrier and slipping into his body without anyone noticing. Not even Xiangshan himself. After destroying the lizard beast, the group pressed on. Only after passing beyond the collapsed cavern did they return to the surface. Wenjong clasped his hands apologetically. His impulsive action, he admitted, had nearly led them all into peril. Suanxian waved it off, noting that none could have predicted the beads would explode on contact. She then turned to Hanli, asking if he knew what those creatures were. Hanli explained calmly that the wolf-like beasts were devilish corpse wolves from the Devil Realm, creatures that naturally formed corpse fire beads, which detonated upon contact with foreign energy. Enlightenment dawned on the group, though curiosity also stirred. How did Hanli know such things? No one dared probe further, and silence fell as they continued onward. After another quarter hour, the passage opened into a vast expanse, more than 100 times larger than the earlier cave. Piles of golden ore lay scattered everywhere, some towering like small mountains, others barely taller than a man, arranged in what appeared to be a deliberate formation. Exchanging cautious glances, the group advanced carefully. Nothing happened, and they proceeded. After traveling nearly 10 kilometers, the ore abruptly vanished, revealing a small plaza ahead. Its ground was paved with radiant golden tiles, and at its center rose a colossal golden altar, over 1,000 feet tall, formed of 3 tiers and seemingly carved from a single piece of material. Atop it lay a 10-foot platform engraved with a golden yin-yang symbol. Embedded within the symbol was a strange 3-edged golden sword. One face bore sun, moon, and stars. Another depicted mountains and rivers. The last showed a dragon entwined with a phoenix. Blazing golden light poured from the sword, metal law power surging outward in painful waves, as though invisible blades grazed the skin. Hovering opposite it was a golden flame the size of a human head, emanating formidable time law fluctuations. Streams of golden runes flowed from the yin-yang symbol, spreading across the altar to form a cage-like array. Metal and time laws intertwined in perfect harmony, enveloping the altar completely. Above it all yawned a massive black rift, howling black winds pouring forth like breath from the abyss. The surrounding aura ray concealed the altar's aura, explaining why none had sensed it earlier. Now, however, the overwhelming presence rooted everyone in place. Is this a seal? Suanxian breathed. Hanli's gaze locked onto the sword and flame. The sword was forged from heavenly Vajra diamond, explaining its fearsome might, while the golden flame's time law was unlike anything within the great five-elemental illusion mantra. Lei Yusei and Wenjong, far calmer than the others, exchanged excited glances. At the rear, Xiangshan stood transfixed, eyes burning with desire as he stared at the ancient sword. After a quick glance at the others, he suddenly shot forward, conjuring a giant golden hand to seize it. "Don't act rashly," voices cried out, but it was too late. With a thunderous boom, the golden hand closed around the sword, only for countless streaks of golden swordlight to erupt, shredding the hand instantly. The sword trembled angrily, releasing torrents of translucent sword chi that slashed through the air in all directions. Everyone scrambled to defend. The Lan siblings joined forces, Lan Yuanzi releasing a blue bead that expanded into a spherical barrier around them. Worm 3 produced a white shield that swelled into a protective dome for herself and Fox 3. Lei Yusei and Wenjong planted golden flags to form an array, calling Suanchen inside. Though conflicted, she allowed the barrier to envelop her, while also raising her own blue flag to form an additional shield. Hanli roared softly as his profound acupoints flared. His true extreme film surfaced, and 36 azure bamboo cloud swarm swords burst forth, spinning into a lightning-laced sword barrier around him. Translucent sword chi rained down, battering the array with explosive force. Though the swords held firm, the formation wavered on the verge of collapse. Hanli retreated while firing twin bolts of golden lightning into the array, stabilizing it at the last moment. A few streaks of sword chi slipped through, but his true extreme film blocked them effortlessly. With nearly 1,000 profound acupoints opened, his defense surpassed any immortal treasure he possessed. Having escaped the sword chi's range, Hanli descended onto a pile of golden ore outside the plaza, eyes fixed once more on the terrifying altar ahead. Hanli brushed aside the incoming translucent sword chi with calm ease, yet not everyone possessed such composure or strength. Sharp rents were torn open across the spherical light barrier protecting the Lan siblings, the shield flickering wildly as it teetered on the brink of collapse. Shock flashed across their faces. Without hesitation, the two released streams of blue law threads that poured into the barrier, reinforcing it at its core. In an instant, 8 blue dragon phantoms manifested atop the sphere. They roared as they coiled and surged along its surface, their draconic might stabilizing the faltering defense. With the barrier secured, the land siblings seized the chance to flee the plaza and retreat to safety. Even so, the price had been steep. Within the barrier, Lan Yuanzi's arm had been severed cleanly at the elbow, while a deep gash marred Lan Yan's shoulder. The translucent sword chi had far exceeded their expectations. Had they not deployed their ultimate defensive treasure, the 8-dragon water bead, death would have been unavoidable. Elsewhere, the white barrier shielding Worm 3 and Fox 3 was likewise slashed apart, trembling on the verge of failure. At the critical moment, Worm 3 pressed both palms against the barrier. Enter. Dark red radiance burst forth, forming a second shield infused with the profound power of reincarnation law. Though thin, it proved astonishingly resilient, forcibly holding the sword chi at bay. Rather than retreat, the two fixed their gazes on the golden altar ahead, eyes burning with intent. Meanwhile, Lei Yusei and Wenzhong poured incantation seals into the golden array around them. A colossal golden sword projection, over 1,000 feet tall, rose within the formation. All translucent sword chi that pierced the array were instantly subdued, circling briefly before merging into the towering blade. Hanli swept his gaze across the chaos. Where was Xiangshan? Had he already fallen? His eyes soon found the answer. Xiangshan was charging straight toward the altar, shrouded in a cloud of golden mist. The mist exuded an ethereal sword intent, like drifting clouds, allowing the incoming sword chi to pass harmlessly through his body. What secret art was this? Hanli frowned as he observed more closely. Each streak of sword chi that passed through Xiangshan shaved away a portion of the golden mist. It was clearly being consumed. Yet, to everyone's astonishment, Xiangshan did not retreat. He pressed forward relentlessly, closing to within 100 feet of the ancient sword in the blink of an eye. The golden flame beside the sword reacted at once. It swelled violently, spewing bursts of golden fire that fused with the sword chi pouring from the ancient blade. Instantly, the translucent chi was tinged with gold, transforming into blazing streams of fiery sword chi. Empowered by flame, the storm expanded several-fold, engulfing everything within nearly 10,000 feet of the altar. Xiangshan's golden mist was swallowed whole, shrinking rapidly amid agonized howls. Fox 3, Worm 3, Lei Yuse's group, Hanli, and the land siblings were all engulfed in the inferno. Fiery sword chi slammed into Hanli's sword barrier, shredding it in moments. The 36 azure bamboo cloudswarm swords were sent flying like leaves in a gale. After tearing through the golden sword array, the blazing chi struck Hanli directly, carving deep wounds into his true extreme film, nearly ripping it apart. Hanli immediately summoned the mantra-treasured axis. Golden ripples spread outward for over 1,000 feet, drastically slowing the fiery sword chi. Yet they did not stop completely. Still advancing with stubborn force, surprise flickered in Hanli's eyes. His time law should have frozen them entirely, until he realized the golden flames had altered their nature. At his command, the time-severing torch appeared beside the axis, releasing radiant golden fire that formed the time-severing fire domain. With the vast increase in time law threads, its power had soared, its time-stopping effect nearly rivaling Chimozi's spirit domain. At last, the fiery sword chi ground to a halt within the domain. At that very instant, a thunderous boom erupted from the land siblings' direction. A massive blue sun flared into existence, radiating dazzling light. 8 blue dragons burst forth, lunging at the sword storm and holding it back for the briefest moment. That instant was enough. Lan Yuanzi and Lan Yan fled to safety, battered and pale, their bodies riddled with wounds as they hastily swallowed recovery pills. Hanli spared them a glance before fixing his gaze once more on the ancient sword and golden flame atop the altar. Metal law and time law, distinct yet capable of fusing into terrifying power. Once, before awakening lightning law, his azure bamboo cloud swarm swords had harmonized with time law. Now, as lightning attribute immortal treasures, they rejected it entirely. If they could once more merge with time law, the result would be fearsome beyond measure. His heart stirred. He recalled the scattered swords and moved to retrieve them, advancing toward the altar under the protection of the mantra treasured axis and time-severing fire domain. Then the black wind roaring from the rift above the altar suddenly intensified. Yin winds swept through the cavern, scattering even the fiery sword chi. Ghastly howls echoed, and Hanli halted at once. The ancient sword, golden flame and golden array flared again. The fiery sword chi froze, then surged toward the rift. It's too late to worry about you now. Sinister laughter rang out as a thick bolt of black lightning blasted forth, tearing a hole through the sword chi and striking the golden flame directly. As all attention focused on the rift and altar, a faint cloud of golden mist seized the moment, drifting silently toward the altar at blinding speed, unnoticed by all. Black lightning collided with the golden flame in a deafening explosion. Black and gold light warped the surrounding space. The flame flickered. Its connection to the yin-yang symbol severed, and it was flung through the air, straight toward Han Li. His eyes lit up. With swift seals, time law threads shot from the time-severing torch, wrapping around the golden flame and drawing it to him. To his surprise, it yielded without resistance. At the same moment, the golden mist reached the altar and transformed into Xiong Shan. His condition was horrific. His body was riddled with wounds, his legs and left arm gone, only a mangled right arm remaining. Yet not a single drop of blood flowed. Sword chi continued to pour from the ancient blade, riddling what remained of Xiangshan's body with holes, nearly tearing him apart. Still, his eyes burned with obsession, utterly oblivious to his ruin. With his lone remaining hand, he grasped the sword's hilt and began to pull. Hanli frowned deeply. Even the devastating black lightning had barely dislodged the golden flame. In Xiangshan's state, drawing the ancient sword should have been impossible. Yet events refused to follow expectation. Against all expectation, Xiangshan drew the ancient sword from the altar with ease. His body swayed as if drunk, yet he soon steadied himself, lowering his gaze to the golden blade in his grasp as a faintly crazed smile crept across his face. With the ancient sword removed and the golden flame gone, the altar's radiant array dimmed at once. The blazing sword chi that had filled the cavern dissipated like smoke before the wind. At that instant, Fox 3, Worm 3, and Lei Yusei's group were revealed. The white barrier around Fox 3 and Worm 3 had already shattered, and both were trapped beneath a dark red wheel. Their robes hung in tatters, stained with blood, their condition miserable and disheveled. Lei Yuchi's trio fared better. The golden array around them still stood, though less than half of the sword projections remained. Lei Yuchi and Wenzhong were deathly pale, clearly having pushed themselves to the brink. When they saw the golden flame in Han Li's hand and the ancient sword in Xiangshan's grasp, their expressions worsened. But before any words could be spoken, a faint cracking sound rang out from within the altar, like something breaking apart. A chill rose in Han Li's heart. Suddenly, joyous cries erupted from the altar. Blinding black light burst forth, and the entire cavern shook violently. The golden altar trembled as black rifts split open around it in rapid succession. "Fellow Taoist Han, fellow Taoist Xiong, put those things back, now!" Lei Yusei shouted in terror. Han Li hesitated. Xiangshan, however, clutched the ancient sword to his chest, ignoring Lei Yusei entirely. With a flip of his hand, he produced a crimson pill and swallowed it without pause. After a brief inner struggle, Han Li gritted his teeth and prepared to return the golden flame. Before he could act, a thunderous explosion shook heaven and earth as the altar shattered into countless fragments. Xiangshan, standing atop it, was blasted away, flung straight toward Han Li. His body was in such ruin that he could not even stabilize his flight, yet his right hand still clung tightly to the golden sword, as though his life meant less than the blade. Han Li swept his sleeve, releasing a surge of azure light to catch him before he struck the cavern wall. "Many thanks, Brother Han," Xiangshan said, yet there was no gratitude in his eyes, only vigilance, as if guarding against the sword being taken. Han Li frowned faintly, sensing a crack in Xiangshan's sanity, but said nothing. He turned to the shattered altar. From the wreckage, a door of black light had formed, torrents of darkness surging outward. It flickered violently, then shattered, and in the blink of an eye, more than 100 figures appeared, shouting in wild elation. "I'm free at last. How many years has it been? Where is Tai Sui? I'll flay him alive." Some were human in shape, others half-beast, others wholly monstrous. Devilish chi coiled around every one of them. Han Li withdrew his mantra treasured axis and time severing fire domain, retreating until his back met the cavern wall so he could not be surrounded. Most of the newcomers were at the high zenith stage, several with auras no weaker than his own. Xiangshan also retreated to Han Li's side. Crimson light glowed over his body as flesh fibers sprouted, knitting wounds and regrowing lost limbs. Soon his body was whole again, though his face remained pale. Lei Yusi's group regrouped as well. His trio stood together, while Fox 3 and Worm 3 were joined by the Land siblings, all glaring resentfully at Hanli and Xiangshan. After savoring their freedom, the devilish beings turned toward them with cruel smiles. A towering, muscular man stepped forward, bronze-skinned, lion-maned, exuding overwhelming pressure. "Was it you who broke the seal?" he demanded. Han Li answered calmly, stating their origins and asking who they were. The man laughed savagely. "Then I thank you. As payment, you will become our food. Offer up your blood and souls." He lunged at Han Li like a meteor, fists crashing down with brutal force, confident that raw strength would prevail in such a confined space. He was wrong. Han Li vanished, reappearing hundreds of feet away. Before the devil could react, a vast arc of golden swordlight, 500 to 600 feet long, descended with a thunderous roar, tearing a clean spatial rift behind it as sword intent flooded the cave. The devilish man summoned a massive black hammer and hurled it forth. This was no ordinary treasure, but a profound infernal divine hammer forged from an entire mountain of refined divine iron, tempered for countless years, so heavy that few high zenith cultivators could even lift it. The swordlight struck, and the hammer was cleaved cleanly in two. Unstopped, the golden blade descended. The devil spat out a black bead that exploded into a massive sphere of darkness, yet it too was split apart and annihilated by the raging sword intent. The devil vanished. The swordlight faded, revealing Xiangshan, still gripping the ancient sword. His face was pale, but his eyes burned with fanatic joy as though the blade were the axis of his world. Far away, the devilish man reappeared, pale and shaken, staring at the ruined hammer in his hand. "That is the primordial ancient sword," he exclaimed warily. Xiangshan's fervor surged. "We freed you, and you repay us with fangs and claws? Then pay the price for your ingratitude." Radiant swordlight enveloped him once more. In the next instant, man and sword vanished together, transforming into a 1,000-foot-long streak of golden swordlight that tore through the air toward the devilish man with unstoppable might. The devilish man was clearly enraged by Xiangshan's arrogance. With a cold scoff, he summoned a long black saber and barked, "Insolent fool, you're nothing but a golden immortal. Claiming equality with me? You're a million years too early." A sinister skull was carved into the saber's hilt, its slender blade etched with lightning-shaped runes. Black lightning leapt across its surface, and the weapon's aura eclipsed even that of the profound infernal divine hammer. With a vicious swing, the devilish man unleashed a vast surge of black chi that billowed into a dark cloud, roaring straight toward the streak of golden swordlight. At the same time, nearly 100 lightning-shaped translucent threads shot forth, converging into a house-sized black lightning lion. Violent lightning law power surged from its body as it lunged ferociously at the golden swordlight. Yet the swordlight formed by Xiangshan showed not the slightest fear. Instead, it accelerated even further, radiating supreme confidence born of the primordial ancient sword. In the next instant, swordlight and lightning lion collided. A violent explosion of black and golden radiance erupted, shaking the entire cave. Protected by powerful restrictions, the cavern walls cracked but did not collapse. A ripping roar echoed as the lightning lion was cleaved in two, dissolving back into countless black lightning threads that scattered wildly. The devilish man shuddered and staggered several steps back, finally steadying himself with disbelief etched across his face. The golden swordlight was also extinguished, and Xiangshan stumbled into view, his complexion pale, yet his eyes blazing with fervent excitement. Though the devilish man was at the late high zenith stage and Xiangshan only a late golden immortal, the primordial ancient sword allowed him to consistently press his foe. From the fluctuations of its law power, Han Li judged the primordial ancient sword to be at least a fourth-tier immortal treasure. Yet after witnessing its might, he suspected it was more likely a third-tier treasure in disguise. A trace of envy rose in his heart as he wondered when he might obtain an immortal treasure so perfectly matched to his own laws. Meanwhile, the other devilish beings also sprang into action. Long harboring hatred toward Immortal Realm cultivators, especially humans, and having been trapped by Immortal Lord Tai Sui for countless years, their hearts burned with resentment and fury. Still, not all chose to fight. Roughly half rushed to attack, while the rest fled the Aeon Pagoda as streaks of black light. Hanli ignored those who fled, for 7 or 8 devilish cultivators were charging straight at him. A cold glint flashed in his eyes as he swept his sleeve, releasing 36 azure bamboo cloud swarm swords. The flying swords split into hundreds of streaks of golden swordlight, crackling with lightning as they poured down like a heavenly storm. All of the devilish cultivators wielded yin attribute cultivation, making them natural prey to lightning law power. They hastily raised defenses against the onslaught. At that moment, Han Li formed a hand seal, summoning his mantra treasured axis. Waves of golden ripples surged outward, instantly sweeping across several thousand feet. Caught completely off guard, the devilish cultivators were rooted in place the instant the ripples passed over them. In the next heartbeat, the storm of golden swordlight pierced through their bodies. Han Li withdrew the mantra treasured axis, and the devilish cultivators exploded into fragments, their nascent souls erased without a trace. All of this transpired in the blink of an eye. Before the devilish beings could react, 7 or 8 high zenith stage experts had already fallen. Shock rippled through the ranks as the remaining devilish cultivators stared at Han Li in alarm, while Lei Yusei and the others were once again left speechless by his power. Han Li paid no attention to the gazes upon him. In a flash of golden lightning, he vanished, reappearing over 10,000 feet away. Once more, he summoned the mantra treasured axis, its golden ripples instantly enveloping nearly 10 nearby devilish beings. With a sweep of his sleeve, hundreds of swordlights tore through the air, shredding the immobilized enemies to pieces. Fear replaced wariness in the eyes of the devilish beings, and all of them fled as far from Han Li as possible. His expression remained calm as he prepared to pursue, when sudden thunderclaps rang out. A black lightning spirit domain materialized from nothingness and descended upon him. The lion-maned devilish cultivator stood within the domain, watching Han Li with icy eyes. Elsewhere, Shan was locked in combat with several high-zenith devilish beings. In his excitement, he had unleashed too many powerful strikes with the primordial ancient sword, rapidly depleting his immortal power and forcing him into a more restrained style, unable to further pressure the manned cultivator. Within the black lightning spirit domain, the golden lightning around Han Li's body melted away, and even the lightning surging over his azure bamboo cloud swarm swords was suppressed. A flicker of surprise crossed his face. "I don't care who you are. You're not leaving here alive," the devilish man roared, swinging his black saber. 150 lightning law threads burst forth, intertwining into an almighty black lightning dragon. Its aura far surpassed that of the earlier lightning lion. In a flash, the dragon shot forward like a bolt of black lightning, instantly reaching Han Li and raking down with a colossal claw. A vast shadow fell as though the heavens themselves were collapsing. Using an acceleratory ability akin to the reversal true axis, the devilish man completed his assault in terrifying speed. Han Li had barely sensed the spirit domain before the claw was upon him. With no time to evade, Han Li threw a punch. A golden fist projection roared forth, crushing space in its wake and spawning countless spatial rifts. At the same time, the 36 azure bamboo cloud swarm swords followed behind, forming an acre-sized azure sword lotus, countless sword projections swirling within. The lightning dragon roared thunderously as its claw tore through the golden fist projection with ease, then continued downward to seize the sword lotus. Though their lightning law power was suppressed, the azure bamboo cloud swarm swords themselves remained fearsome. The black claw struck the lotus with an earth-shattering boom, holding briefly before the formation shattered into 36 swords that scattered in all directions. The lightning dragon was halted for a fleeting instant, just enough. In that heartbeat, Han Li expanded his time spirit domain, swallowing the dragon whole. His mantra treasured axis appeared behind him, golden ripples washing over the dragon, followed by the emergence of the time-severing torch and its time-severing fire domain. With Han Li's time spirit domain, mantra treasured axis, and time-severing fire domain acting together, the once almighty lightning dragon was instantly immobilized, its ferocious power frozen in place.